All right, we got some drama today here in the oil market. So what are you expecting from this meeting of OPEC Plus and especially Saudi Arabia? And can you expect anything? Because that oil minister is, well, unpredictable. You call him the Prince of Plot Twists.
No, I mean, His Royal Highness Prince Abdulaziz bin Salman, he loves a surprise ending to these monthly OPEC meetings. I mean, our expectation is that we will be seeing some OPEC Plus barrels coming back, potentially in the 500,000 to 1 million barrel a day range. The big question is, though, how much of those barrels are going to be Saudi barrels? In January, Prince Abdulaziz surprised the market by doing his unilateral 1 million barrel a day Saudi cut. That was a big shot of adrenaline into the oil market. That cut is supposed to end at the end of this month. And the question is, will he hold some of those barrels back? He has expressed concern about the potential fragility of the recovery. We think he's going to be very cautious in bringing barrels back onto the market. He was the person 1 year ago who wanted a deep cut because he was very, very concerned about the pandemic. He was thwarted by the Russians then, but his whole mantra is you need to be prudent when you look at this market.
Interesting. So the Prince of Plot Twist leaving some surprises for later today. So we were just showing the oil prices, Helima, where Brent and WTI are sitting at both just above $60 a barrel. How does the potential of U.S. shale drillers getting back online and U.S. production ramping back up after what we've been seeing in Texas, how does that impact the discussions at this meeting? Because according to your research, their collective break even is at $95 a barrel.
Right, and within that collective break-even for OPEC members, I mean, you have countries on one end of the spectrum, like the United Arab Emirates, who can balance their budget in the 60s, and then producers like Venezuela and Iraq that need triple digits to balance their budgets. But they are very concerned about what is shale going to do. Is shale going to come out and essentially kill the party by basically ramping up production? Now, shale CEOs have been very, very quick to say they're going to remain disciplined. But certain countries within this OPEC Plus coalition, most notably the Russians, are very concerned about giving a lifeline to shale. Their oil minister, their deputy prime minister has been out essentially saying, if we don't put more barrels on the market, other producers will. We all think the Russians are really talking about U.S. shale producers.
You know, back to the Prince of Plot Twist for just a second. I know he's kind of concerned about people actually shorting the oil market. So I talked to our quant team. They did some great research. Shorts have declined a lot over the last year. Is that what he was going for when he kind of put up this unpredictable stance out here to the public?
Well, he's been really clear. He wants to basically eviscerate the shorts. He has said that in his press conferences. And I think this monthly meeting structure now keeps investors on their toes. OPEC used to meet, twice a year. There was more forward guidance about production policy. He likes to make sure that we're always guessing, and we can't take Saudi production for granted.
Yeah, short sellers at the top of everybody's mind these days. Let's talk about another situation at the top of mind, Iran. Right now, they're under U.S. sanctions, but if they were not, they'd have about 1 million barrels per day that they could put out. What's the probability of those barrels being released, and what would that do to this oil rally?
Frank, that's a great question. When President Biden was sworn in, a lot of people expected that the U.S. would go back into the 2015 landmark nuclear deal and essentially relax sanctions on Iran. Those talks look like they have stalled out for now. I mean, yes, their negotiations are ongoing, but it doesn't look like we're going to get a near-term breakthrough, which are going to bring those barrels back on the market in the next couple months. It's looking like those Iranian barrels may not be coming back till end of year or even 2022. So that takes some pressure, I would think, off the OPEC planners. They don't necessarily have to figure out how do you make room for the Iranian barrels. But it does interject unpredictability into the Middle East. We saw those strikes by Biden on those Syrian targets last week. There is a question mark about if we don't get a nuclear deal and Iran continues to make progress in their nuclear revamp up, are we going to see some type of, more of these incidents in the Middle East? Will we see potentially the Israelis doing some strikes on Iranian facilities as well?
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.